Hey y'all, have you been thinking about bird wings for the last couple weeks? Because if so, you're super in luck. We're gonna do part 2 today. I guess it's part 2. We're gonna do a continuation of bird look at it's and figure it outs, which I'm very excited about. Been playing around with some ideas, and the information I am getting is making me really happy. Before we get started, I did just want to share that I do have a Patreon. And if you're interested in having like downloadable versions of my sketches, I did this for my deer video last week, and as well as other things, journal entries and thoughts about other things and sketches that I may or may not share elsewhere. If you're interested, you can join my Patreon. And also, I welcome questions there too. And I might even respond to them on video. So if that interests you, definitely check it out. It's in the link in the description. Second, I am working on the plan is definitely to have a camera with my face in it around here at some point. Technical difficulties. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, wings. For those of you who joined last time when we were talking about wings, we focused on two big ideas, which were primaries and secondaries. And we drew bones and thought about feathers and talked about the alula and other things, but those were our main focus. And I think that's so important to getting the main shape of the wing. So we're still going to be thinking about that. We're going to take it a step further. And today I want to think about these feathers and the primaries specifically, and where they attach, because I think it makes such a difference to the shape that you get. And when I've drawn wings in the past, it's always just been kind of like, oh, I don't know, it connects here, or I think it connects here, or something like that. And I didn't really have an idea in mind of how many feathers I wanted, where they connected, what was their relationship with them, what kind of shape they make, because you can see the shape of these guys coming off the bone here kind of has a distinct shape from the secondaries, which are right here. More of a round shape here. You can see the direction that they're facing. You can see that they're connecting here to the ulna, whereas these are connecting effectively to the hand and fingers. So hand and fingers, wrist effectively, elbow, if we're using anatomy terms we're more familiar with. So I liked this illustration too. You can see really clearly there's about 1, 2, 3, 4 feathers that connect here to this long elongated finger, this modified finger. And between 5 and 6, there's no in between 5 and 6. There's 5.5 feathers right around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this case. And I like having that number. That brings a lot of clarity to me. So down the road, not too far down the road, when I'm going to be trying to draw these from memory, little things like that are going to help me stay on track. So today we're going to draw some more wings and kind of focus on feather shapes, bone shapes, and identifying what we're looking at as we go along. Okay, to get us oriented, I'm just going to start with this. I'm just going to start by drawing this, because I kind of want to keep this image. I want to pluck this image, put it in my brain, and remember it. So I'm going to just draw this real quick, just a simplified version, and I'm going to throw down some anatomy terms around it. Just use our trusty Blackwing today. Okay, so I'm going to start here. This is the sort of modified hand finger. I believe it's called the metacarpal. Let me check myself here. Metacarpus. So we have the metacarpus here, and it's a kind of a two-bone setup here. And we have a finger, kind of a conjoined finger here. This is, I think, called a basal phalanx, but we can just call it finger. It's not that important to know what it's called, or even when you're learning anatomy for art, you're mostly interested in the shape that things make and the function. So combining ideas is totally fine based on what's relevant and what we can see on the surface. We're not surgeons, we're just trying to understand how the main ideas work together. So for example, it's not necessary really to separate these two bones. This is the ulna, this is the radius. Let me just check that, because I always second guess myself. Yeah, the ulna is the one where the feathers connect. So it's going to be on the bottom from this orientation. And then this is the alula, which has like a couple of its own cute little feathers sticking out. Oops. Like that. So radius ulna, metacarpals, hand, fingers. Okay, so primaries connect to the hand and finger. Okay, so we're remembering primaries and secondaries last time, and this is me talking to myself, because this is the stuff that I want to remember. So here's our alula. We've got 5 feathers here connected to the hand, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 connected to the fingers. And here you can see on the flip side, the overhead view here, the nice shape we get for the primaries, and then the secondaries are here. The secondaries all connect to the ulna. Okay, so I'm going to start here. We have 1 feather that kind of comes out from the finger, from the top of the finger there. And then we have another one, slightly longer, that comes out here. And then we'll go 3rd, and then 4th. And a lot of times you'll see a separation kind of between this one and then the ones that come out from the ulna. Not always, but it can create an interesting shape sometimes. Or if you want to have a feather that's kind of getting caught by the wind and blown up, which we'll see sometimes we might see today in some of our reference images. It's typically these feathers here connected to the fingers. The ones connected to the hand here are a little bit more clustered together. And then the ones here connected to the ulna are pretty packed. So I'm going to do, okay, so there's 4 here, and I'm going to do 5 here connected to the hand. Something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we won't get this granular, especially when we're doing gesture and stuff. This is just for our understanding. We're kind of, by going through the motions, we're helping our brain. I'm helping my brain remember what the heck is going on in this zone. And that gives me a lot more freedom when I'm looking at my reference to change things, to modify shapes in a way that's pleasing, but still makes sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw in the feather shapes here. something like that. And we'll get into, there's like different like feather shapes and stuff that we can get into as well. I'm not too worried about that today. Come a little closer. Also the overlap is something, so this is the underside of the wing, so the way that the feathers are going to overlap is the reverse of how we're going to see them on the other side. There's lots of nitty-gritty things that we can get into, but today I'm mostly worried about the anatomy and the main shape, so I might talk about it here and there, but it's not the main focus. Bite-sized pieces, bite-sized pieces. A little bit too extreme there. All right, last one connected here. And I'm going to erase this because this is actually going to overlap. Okay, so there's our 4 connected to the fingers. And now we're going to start on the ones connected here at the hand. These are going to be much more compact, or like closer together typically. And then the overlap is on top, so I can actually start, maybe I'll start this way. Oh, another important thing that I was completely missing is the feathers don't start at the bone, they start out from the bone, so like here. So I should have been drawing things like that. So we'll go ahead and correct our mistake. And that won't come into play too often, but it's still something that I want to remember is not to draw the feathers, the bulk of the feathers clumped up right against the bone. They do have this shaft. Okay. So I'm going to start here for this one. And the feathers here, they have a different shape too. These primary flight feathers, they kind of dip in here. Again, this is just a detail that I'm noticing that we don't have to super think about too hard today, but these do have a slightly different shape. These are a little bit more wedge shaped. Whoops. Okay, this one is going to overlap this one a bit, so I'll erase that. And remember what I'm doing at any given time. Okay, so there we go. And to give these just a little bit more clarity, I can come in and shade them. So that will help with to visualize the overlap as well. I like to shade one side of it. So one side of the, I do need to figure out the name of, I do need to look up feather anatomy so I have more words for that. But basically find the middle and then come down one side of it with your shadow. And that will help bring some clarity to this chaos. Okay, and then I can bring even a little bit more clarity by sort of grouping and outlining. Whoa, that line got super thick. Let's rein that in just a hair. Okay, so let me remember this one more time. Metacarpus. Okay, so this is our metacarpus here. Basically, it's a hand. And then here, we can even combine these. It's not super important for us most of the time unless you're drawing like an undead bird. And even then, you could probably combine these fingers. So these, we're just gonna call these finger. We're just gonna call this the finger or fingers. Yeah, let's call them fingers. And then four, we want four, we're having 4 feathers attached to the fingers. So I'll put a little star here. And then we'll do, yeah, I think I'm mostly gonna just focus on these guys today. I wanna remember 4 and 5 or 6. 9 or 10, typically primaries are what birds have that I've observed so far. Then this is our little Alula friend, which you're not gonna see all the time, but it's a fun detail that you can choose to throw in there if you like. And this is really what it's about, you know? It's just like knowing, like studying things from life and knowing fun things that you can throw in to make your drawing look extra special or believable, or shapes that you can play with. This is fun. Anatomy is fun. Okay, and of course all of these make up the primaries. This is all primaries right here. We're not even worried about the secondaries today. We're just trying to remember metacarpus, fingers, 4 feathers connected to the finger, 5 or 6 connected to the hand. All right, so that's what we're gonna look for as we do some drawing today. Let's do some quick drawing. Okay, let's look at this guy. I believe this is a osprey, perhaps? Okay, so let's figure out what we're looking at. I'm seeing this as the radius ulna, and I'm seeing this as the finger. I see the alula there. You can kind of see it even more on this far one, how it pops out just a little bit. So there's our beginning of the finger. So our alula, or beginning of the hand. It's kind of the thumb. The alula is kind of a thumb. So the fingers come this way. And look at the feathers. See how they're kind of bowing up a little bit? It's mostly these first 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know there's like variation with birds too. So the number of feathers thing, I'm not 100% sure on across bird species and stuff. It just seems to be like kind of a general go-to is like a 4 and then 5 or 6. But as I study more, I can update that thought. But it seems to apply for this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these are all connecting to the hand and fingers. And these are our primaries right here. And we can kind of make a whole shape with that, how they're boxed in like that. And then I know that these secondaries are all tracking to the ulna, right? Here's our ulna. And we see that they're kind of making, they kind of have a different path, they kind of have a different bend, and clumping those together make a different shape. So let's look at the back too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all going to be connected to the finger and hand. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those are all going to be going to the hand. Sorry, the first 4 are going to the finger, and then these 5 are going to the hand. And then the rest are connected to the ulna. Okay, let's draw it. Okay, so we're not too worried about the bird, the rest of the bird. We're just going to do that very simply today. Just going to get the main shape of the body. Nice hooked beak there. Okay, we've got our wing kind of starting here. And we didn't get into tertials or anything like that. That's okay. Just mostly thinking about those main wing shapes and how to deal with them, because wings do so, you can view them from so many different angles, obviously, in the way that they look. It's not always going to be this simple. There's lots of foreshortening that's going to happen. There's forces that's going to happen. And so understanding what I'm looking at various angles is what I'm after, because that's going to help me not only better draw birds and other winged things, but be able to make it up, be able to pull it out of my imagination. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of bound in those primaries, all connecting to this finger here. Finger, hand, ulna. And then I'm having a hard time seeing the humerus from this angle, but it is in there somewhere. Okay, and then the secondaries make more of this shape. And they're all going to connect to that humerus, like that. We can do this on the other side. So here's our finger and hand. The primaries connected there, and then the secondaries coming along this way. Geez, how do they pluck fish like this out of the water? This is incredible. I'm gonna redo the chest shape just a bit. Okay. So I want to say from the reference, just to try and make a decision, this has to be the radius ulna. So I think the humerus is just getting foreshortened here. So I'm going to call it like this, maybe the humerus like that. And then we got our radius and ulna doing this kind of thing. You can see how simply I'm just throwing these in here. Got our metacarpals. It's I think I'm getting confused because it's metacarpal. Well, maybe it's the same. There's like metatarsus and metatarsals, metacarpus and metacarpals, metacarpus. The hand, metacarpus and fingers. Okay, so all of this to kind of set up these feather shapes, right? Because we want that interesting shape to start emerging when we're drawing birds, or when we're drawing Pegasus, or when we're drawing feathered dragons or something like this. These details are really fun. They're like little eye candy. So this feather here is going to connect to the finger. And then this other one's kind of floating out. And connecting there. And then I'll make this one closer. And those are all connected to the hand and finger. And then I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connected to the hand. Like that. And then these are our secondaries. And I'm gonna kind of just clump these guys together. It's not as important to me today to count them or anything. I just kind of want to get the impression of them there. And then we've got our tertiaries, tertials, and auxiliaries, I think, in there. And then our tail feathers. And I want these back ones to be less detailed. But we are going to have this standout first primary here. So that's pretty common for that one to kind of be doing its own thing. Got 4 there. And then we got 5 here connected to the rest of the hand, so about like that. And then our secondaries. I'll bring this in a little bit. I think it's popping a bit too much. I'm going to kind of hook up with these 4 there. Just kind of throwing in some details for the rest of the bird and the fish. A little bit more bird of prey expression there. Okay, so let's clean these up just a little bit, simplify them. So now that we know roughly where they're connecting and where we want them to go and stuff, we can just simplify the shape a little bit. In fact, I'll throw this into shadow, kind of making my marks based on which way the feathers are flowing. Like that. We haven't gotten into the other layers of feathers and stuff like that on the wings. That's okay, but something like that. Okay, and I want to just lock in these shapes a little bit more. Kind of bring in our CSI, our straights, and our curves and stuff, and just kind of be a little bit more decisive. And there's an interior shape we can kind of play with. I'm going to bring this shape out a little bit. I don't think it actually made it quite big enough. So that's okay, we can modify it a bit. Like that. I know these all connect on the ulna here, so I can kind of track that way. And maybe we'll add a little detail, like this. I got a little bit more detailed with this one than I intended, but sometimes you're having fun with something and you want to figure something out and you just kind of go for it. Totally cool. I made him look a little bit like a parrot. We're in parrot territory. There we go, that's a little better. Okay. Clean this up a bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4 connected to the fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish. And these make up our primaries. And then we've got our secondaries. Messiest line ever. There we go. And to me, to my eye, this helps a lot. This gives me way more wing information. So being able to get a tangible sense, where do those primaries start? And what's the overall shape they make? And then where do the primaries begin and what is the overall shape those make? Okay, let's do another one. Okay, funky. Let's do this one. This is what I mean about wings just doing all kinds of things and just having a hard time knowing what you're looking at. So this analysis phase, this analyzation moment is really important to me whenever I'm looking at photos, and I don't always do it, but it's super helpful. I usually benefit, my drawing benefits a lot if I take a second just to try and figure out what the heck I'm looking at. Okay, so here I'm visualizing the radius ulna, and here's our humerus. See that slight bend there? So this is where our wrist right here, and that's where the metacarpus and the fingers, the hand and fingers. Humerus, radius ulna, metacarpus, fingers. Okay. And what do we have here? We have 4 distinct feathers. And I know now, I can visualize that all of those are connecting to the hand and finger. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are also primaries. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be another one in there. Maybe it's getting overlapped somehow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I might add a 5th one in there. And then here's our secondaries, and they're mostly getting covered. So when a bird closes their wings, the primaries fold under the secondaries, so that's what's happening here. These are the primaries. It's either this bird is expanding their wings or they're closing them, but these feathers fold under the secondaries. So we're not seeing most of the secondaries, they're behind the primaries. Good to know. Let's look at the other side. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. All of those connecting to the hand and finger. Potentially this 5th one, it's kind of looking like it wants to belong to that group. So I'm not sure the exact bone structure of this type of bird, but 4 or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Possibly 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could call it 4 and 5, or we could do 4 and 6, or we could do I think it's nice to have a different number for these 2 groups. I think it's just a little bit more pleasing aesthetically, and seems to be true to most birds anyway. If you do 4 and 5 rather than 5 and 5, it's nice to give a little hierarchy there. So I'll probably do 4 and then 5. Okay, so humerus roughly tracking along this way, and then this is our radius ulna, and then hand and fingers coming out this way. Okay, let's see if we can draw it. All right, we'll leave plenty of room for the wings, so we'll start this guy down here, maybe even lower. I don't want to draw the wings I don't want to draw this guy too big, but I do just want to make sure we have enough room. Okay, so I'm just going to draw like a circle for his body. This is an interesting case of how to simplify and how to sell this extreme foreshortening that we're seeing. Put his head here, chest, belly, humerus, radius ulna. And I'm imagining how, like, the relationship between these 2 humerusi, these 2 bones, because of course they're going to have similar attachments to the rib cage, which is the scapula and the coracoid, which we'll get into another time. Okay. Radius ulna. And we got like a crazy wrist connection here into the fingers. That's what I'm visualizing happening under the surface. Metacarpus, phalanx, fingers. All right, go ahead and give our bird friend some feet. Not too worried about it. Give him a little face. Should have drawn a center line. I think that would kind of help get things even. I think this eye needs to come out just a little bit more. So let's get our beak set up first. Nice sharp point. And then maybe this eye was actually in the right place and I just need to move this one over. Okay, that's good enough. Let's get into these wings. Okay, so we're seeing some foreshortening here in the tertials, in the secondaries, but let's just kind of, so we know these connect to the ulna, so let's kind of throw in our shape for what those are possibly looking like back there. And then on this side, they're almost completely hidden behind the humerus radius ulna shape. Okay, so here is our hand. And I know that the feathers, we've got at least 4 feathers connected here. Just double checking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna do 5. And these overlap our secondaries. So that shape is gonna look something, if I were to combine everything, something like that for the connections to the hand, and something like this for the connections to the fingers, right? So just boxing in that whole shape, it's gonna look something like that, and then our secondaries are gonna come out here, and then tertials and auxiliaries are there. What about this side? I'm seeing all the secondaries. They're going to be attached to the ulna, which is being blocked from our viewpoint. But they're there. Doesn't mean they're not there. Okay. And then I'm going to do 5 and 4. So I know we want a shape like this coming out from the hand. And then a shape like this coming out from our fingers. Here we go. Just mess with the volumes on that a little bit. I think I'll make this one a little smaller. So like that. So before we even get into feathers, I'm kind of blocking out these main shapes based on where they're attached to the bone. Okay, let's come in with some more decisive lines and start kind of picking the details that we want to showcase. I'm gonna give some nice structure to that wing. Since we know what's happening, we can do that, roughly. And I'm not too worried about these like inner feathers, so we'll just kind of do something like that. And then there's like another layer, which I think this is all pretty, like feather shapes and all that is gonna be super relative depending on the bird. All right, let's get our first primary out here. I'll draw the center line like that. And I'm noticing an interesting shape with these, something like that. So we'll run with it. Here's our next one coming out from that finger. And our next one. And our fourth one. Okay, and then I'm not as worried about these. Just want them to roughly come up and connect to this hand. And we're gonna do about 5. Okay, well, I'm confused. Okay. We lost track. We lost track of what we were doing. Okay. So I think the finger is actually over here. And then the hand is here. Yeah, the hand is here. Okay. I was working over here. Okay, so let's carry these over from here. I think those are still fine, kind of connecting up in that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go ahead and draw them from the origin like that. Whew, we lost track. We're back on. Close one. Okay, something like that. For those fingers, for those feathers, fingers. And then this one has kind of a shape like that. These are very flexible structures. They can do all kinds of crazy things. Let's get some of this feather action in here. Make a few like more distinct ones in clumps. Around the front there, and then we'll do one kind of connected to the leg here. Okay, something like that, not too bad. Got our tail kind of stacking this way. Just lots and lots of layers to play with, to kind of figure out what we're looking at. before we do finishing details, we're just gonna do a quick pass on this side. Kind of get that thickness to the wing, because it is quite thick and it's overlapping. It's just a bunch of foreshortened feathers and bone and muscle. Okay. Here's our hand. Here's our finger. So these primaries are going to be connected like this. And then we've got some floofage here. Just kind of roughly throw in a large shape. And then I want to visualize these feathers coming out like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got that interesting shape again. So we're going to play with that. Whoops. Something like that. Kind of a go-between feather there. Like that. Okay. I'm going to darken all of this. Add some value there. And this too. Let's look again at our reference here. There's a play between light and dark, dark and light, lots of textures and stuff. I don't want to get too lost in that. So I'm trying to hint that there is detail like that without just getting too crazy, because it would take a long time to do justice to that, and we just don't need to for this drawing. Dark here, kind of dark here around the head. And these feathers are fairly dark, so I'll kind of work on a gradient here, I guess. And I'm going to go ahead and shade in all of this stuff too, just to try and push it back a bit. And a little bit more detail up here I don't think would hurt us. maybe just a hint of some detail on the feathers here. I'm still coming up with my shorthands. And you can have line shorthands and you can have shading shorthands that kind of help, or like textural shorthands that help something make sense. And I don't know that I've found it with these lines exactly, but yeah, that just makes it look confusing. I think it would be better see, what do I want to do? I think we'll just leave it like that. I did want to add like one something like that, maybe just the side of my pencil. Maybe that's better. I don't know, I'll have to play with this idea some more. I think there's potential with that idea. Just didn't nail it this time, and that's fine. All right, I want to make it clear that this is in front, so I'll add a little bit more line there. And that's good. I think we're good. There's more I could do, but let's do one more quick one. Okay, while we're on the subject of harpy eagles or ospreys or whatever these guys are, how fun is that? Look at this guy. He's going so fast. He's just all wing and claw right now. That's so cool. Okay, so the wings are folded. All right, this is kind of the secondary show over here. So here's the humerus. We got our tertials here. And then here are our secondaries, all coming off of that humerus bone. And then we don't see the radius, or no, sorry, this is the radius ulna and those secondaries coming off of there. And we don't see the hand and fingers that the primaries are coming off of. What about here? We got the humerus, we've got the radius ulna, and we've got the hand and fingers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 connected to the fingers, and then kind of clumped together. We got kind of half starting to go under the secondaries here. We've got our primaries that are connected to the hand. Let me see if I can draw the bones real quick for this foreshortened situation. So what we're looking at is humerus, and here's our wrist, here's our elbow, metacarpals, fingers. I'm just going to combine those two together. So for this one, humerus, ulna, radius. The ulna is what the feathers attach to, so it's on the bottom side, I guess, or the back side. Here's the metacarpal and the fingers. All right, let's draw this guy real quick. And I'm a little shy on paper, so this is going to be a smaller one. I just want to get the sense of his body real quick. I love these action shots. What a legend this lady or dude is right now. Just incredible. So fast. Okay. Our ulna, no, our humerus. It's hard to say these things consistently out loud. Elbow, wrist. Hand and fingers, I just kind of combined all of them right there. And then we have our 4 feathers, generally, roughly, coming off of the fingers. We have 5 more coming off of the hand. And then our secondary friends starting to overlap here. And then the tertials are hidden. Let's go ahead and get these reaching legs. These incredible claws. I elongated that a little bit because that's how I feel. I feel like he's so stretched out. So focused. All right. Here we can kind of see a indication of the shoulder almost. I guess this is the shoulder. And then the ulna, or the humerus. Radius ulna. Just combining those shapes there. And then everything else is hidden. That might be a little bit too far out. I'm going to bring that closer to the body. And what are we looking at feather-wise? We got a bunch of feathers coming off of the ulna, like that. And then our tertials coming around like this. And then way back here, we see our primaries poking out. 1. I see 4 actually, so 4, 2 longer ones, a shorter one, and a shorter one there. We can simplify that though. Okay, let's get into it. Add some details. All right, thinking of simple lines and shapes, curves, straights, and S's, let's do, because that's just kind of helps when doing this level of drawing to force decision making and help simplify as well. So this is a curve, this is a curve. Get that eye. Looking super focused. I want the beak to look sharp, so I'm fussing with that a little bit, even though I don't quite have the right tool at the moment to make anything super sharp. That's fine, just the illusion of sharp. Okay. I want to curve around here and then do a little pop for the shoulder. Maybe just a faint outline of feathers there. We got our, just square this off a bit and then like really round that corner. Just to kind of like add some thickness to it. And that's our wrist. This whole group of feathers attaching to the ulna. Before I get too much more detailed on that side, let's do this side. Just gonna add like a corresponding shape for the shoulder here. Here's our wrist. And the elbow. And all of these, this whole shape right here that I'm kind of boxing in, these are all connected to the ulna. These are all secondaries. And then sort of our box here. So we've got the metacarpus and the phalanges, hand and fingers. Let's go ahead and draw lines. So here's our first feather then, 1. Okay, we got 4 connected to the hand. Like that. Connected down there. All right, and then we have others that are starting to kind of get lost under these secondaries. So it's like 1 here maybe is all we're really getting. I want to add some thickness to this joint. So I was looking at the names of these feather groupings the other day, but we're not going to worry about it too much right now. But basically there's a set of covers here and then a set of covers on top of those. And those bump into the covers on this side that go over the secondaries, and a whole bunch of covers that go over those. So it's a whole cover party here. And I don't like the kind of the confusion right like that. So we're just gonna do, yeah, learning like how to simplify all this. A lifelong pursuit. So I want it to look like, so it's tricky because the secondaries are overlapping, but the hand and fingers are in front of the secondaries to our viewpoint. So how to bump those shapes together without it getting too confusing here. It's like this line, this like tangent, this weird tangent thing is, I need something to pull ahead and be the dominant shape. So maybe we'll go with that. I don't love it, but until we have a better idea, we'll go with that. To add some of those coverlet details over here. Okay, give him some more details here. Just some floof on the legs, kind of a bony ankle here. To floof into kind of harder lines. Let's come into this claw. No need to get too detailed down here. This is not our focus today. Just want them to look metal. Just kind of metal shapes going on here. Close in those contours a bit so that they have some separation one from another. It's mostly the wing show. I do want to add, like, I don't have the perspective on this guy quite right here. I do want to add just a center line. And the perspective on his beak is not quite right for that center line, so let's see if I can fix it. Something like that. Okay, it's the wing show. Let's get back to these wings. I'm just kind of having fun with this pose. So I love action poses. All right. So again, like you want these shapes to make sense, but we don't need a ton of detail to do it. We just need the right details, which I have both succeeded and failed at in this drawing, and that's fine. I think what's going to help is getting these shapes going. And I'm just going to color or tone this in because it is far away from us. We don't want it to be too detailed. And on this side, we can go just a little bit more detailed, a little bit more sharp. It's not clear to me what feather side is on top of what. I think the top. Hang on, this part's always so confusing, figuring out what side of the feather is on top of what. Okay, so that would be, wait a minute. Yeah, top side on top. And just one more. Right here. Yeah, you could play for a really long time trying to optimize readability on this pose. Just want to tone this whole side in a little bit more. I still don't quite know how to get the closure, like how to, we've got two things happening. We've got foreshortening covering the secondaries a little bit because the radius ulna and the primaries are in front, but we have those secondaries folding over the primaries as they do when the wings start to fold. So I don't know, my brain is really tripping on how to get those two ideas to play nice. And you know what? That's okay. And I think it would be a matter of like pushing and pulling here and there. To get those mechanics to make sense. Yeah, I didn't really do it at all, but that's okay. I still think we got some good ideas going on here. Yeah, I like these speed lines too. I think they work nicely for this type of thing. And yeah. All right, we'll pick feathers up again sometime in the future. I'm really excited about learning what feathers look like because I have a couple projects that involve feathers. Feathers on birds, feathers on deer. So understanding how they work is very exciting. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks, guys.